Hello, if you're watching this video, then that means I am down at the county courthouse being vetted as a juror for a long murder trial. They're projecting it to be 5 months, so please say a little prayer, cross your fingers, whatever it takes to hope that I do not get selected as a juror for this trial. I keep telling the judge that it is really impossible for me to serve based on my job and so forth, that there's no one to replace me. However, I keep getting called back. So this is my third trip down to the courthouse as they've narrowed it down from about 800 jurors to now I think around 85 or so on these couple of days that we're undergoing questioning. So what I've done for the worst case scenario for today is, in terms of, well, maybe it's a best case scenario that I'm not there, in your opinion. But I have prepared some online materials for me, so you can get started without me. And my plan is that I will be there around 3:30, as court is supposed to adjourn at 3. So I will run out, hop on a bus, go up the hill, and be at Chardin, I hope, by around 3:30. So meanwhile, what I'd like you to do first is watch, of course, a trailer to a movie which is an all-time classic movie. You'll have to take my word for this, because I'm thinking that most likely most of you, or maybe none of you, have ever heard of the movie The Hospital, which came out in the 70s, starring George C. Scott, who's one of my all-time favorite actors. Probably never heard of him either, but bear with me. It is a classic, and you really need to watch this movie. It's a fun movie. The scary part about this movie is that even today in hospitals, we see some of the same errors occurring, such as surgery on the wrong patient or medication of the wrong patient and so forth. And it's a bit of a mystery, a murder mystery, in that the murderer uses the check and balance systems in the hospital, or probably lack thereof, to put patients in a position where they'll just be treated wrongly by the staff and die. It's really something. But I want you to think about, as you watch this, that, as I said, there are still instances, many today, where we make way too many errors that do contribute to patient mortality and morbidity across our hospital system in the U.S. and across the world. We're not unique. And then we're going to move on to a short clip with my favorite doc in quality improvement, Dr. Don Berwick, and he's going to talk about some of the common or the quality dimensions that were established by the Institute of Medicine in 2001. And so this is to contrast with the movie trailer. This is what we're now striving for across healthcare, our healthcare system in the U.S. I've then prepared a video presentation of the PowerPoint that I'm using for today on the content, and I've infused at the beginning some content around organizational issues and why that's so important to establish an organizational culture of safety before we start gathering data and implementing measures that may improve outcomes. So the content that I put in there is not in the chapter or the readings you were assigned, but I think it's important to have that as a baseline before we move forward. And some of that is not going to be new to many of you. I'm going to then let you discuss Dr. Gawande's article on the checklist, and without me, and maybe I'll follow up a little bit when I get there. If you're interested in hearing an interview with Dr. Provenost, who is really the founder of the checklist, then around arterial lines, there's a clip that's within the modules that you can watch. It's kind of fun. He was on the evening news some years ago when the news media got wind of how effective this was at preventing infections in arterial lines, just having a simple checklist. And that's the basis for Gawande's work. If you haven't read his book, it's actually pretty good. And then following that, I have kind of a fun TED Talk video that I wanted to show you just to get those little creative gray cells working about designing products and services and space that really looks at the perspective of the patient or the user. I think so often we forget who it is we're actually serving when we design services. And I think particularly in healthcare, we have a tendency to think, well, I know best for the patient. I'm the provider, the nurse, whomever. So I love how this designer approaches his work. And you can contrast that a bit with the sort of cut and dry, evidence-based checklist approach of Dr. Provenos. So as I said, my plan is to arrive up at Chardin by about 3:30, and then I want to talk with you all about the article by Michael Porter that I also assigned. So I'll save that for my arrival, and then we can also talk about how we'll proceed through the quarter, what are the assignments, go over the syllabus, and I have another kind of fun exercise for us to do. So I will see you in a couple of hours if all goes well.